Welcome back. And you weren't with us earlier today. Welcome to the Alchemical Heart. Obviously, I'm not going to go back over what I said this morning. It'll be a bit tedious for the people that were there. But hopefully what we do this evening will make sense, whether you were here this morning or not. One of the things I was talking about this morning in very broad terms were the stages of alchemy, and I mentioned that the third or fourth stage, depending on what system of alchemy you're using. Sometimes alchemy has 3 major stages, and sometimes it has 4. But in either case, the final stage is known as the libido, which means, well, it's usually translated as the reddening. So in alchemy, red is the color of completion. One of the things that I found very interesting about alchemy is its use of color as a major kind of archetype within itself, if that makes any sense. That, color has a very strong effect, or can have a very strong effect on us. And alchemy uses color a lot to illustrate what it's. Well, anyway, you probably understand what I mean. It uses color a lot, as of course does Buddhist art. And another thing about alchemy is that it was normally understood that the work couldn't be done without the assistance of, what can we call it, higher power, I suppose. Often they would invoke Hermes or some variation of the god Hermes, who was very much associated with the alchemical work. So I thought it'd be quite nice for us to invoke, because we get this idea of higher power develops in Buddhism through the Mahayana. Not so much perhaps there in early Buddhism, but in later Buddhism, we get these archetypal Buddhas and Bodhisattvas coming more into prominence. And we get this idea of calling upon something beyond our normal consciousness, I suppose. I don't think it really matters whether you regard these as external, or as probably a lot of Westerners these days would understand them as images or potential patternings of psyche. The thing about calling upon other power is that it allows us perhaps to relax our ego a little bit. It allows us to sort of surrender a little bit more. Anyway, I thought it'd be rather nice if we, of course, you might have your own figures that you respond to, but as a sort of tutelary deity for the retreat, I thought we could have Amitabha. And I've chosen Amitabha for a number of reasons, but mainly because he's red. So mainly because of the colour, the archetypal significance of that colour within alchemical work, the libido stage. So he stands for, in this context, the completion of the work. Completion of the work. So what we're going to do to start with this evening, so we're going to do some chanting. I've become I've always been a big fan of chanting, actually, but even more so in recent years. And although we do a fair bit of chanting within Triratna, it's usually done primarily as a kind of devotional practice, which of course is very valid, and by no means am I excluding that dimension of chanting. Very important part of chanting, and of course relates to this idea that I just spoke about of calling upon a kind of higher power. But of course, we can also use chanting as a meditative practice. And so tonight we'll be doing both, or doing whatever it does for you. So we're just going to chant the simple Amitabha mantra. And I'm going to ask you, probably most of you are alone, some of you might be with a friend or whatever. But either way, I'm going to suggest and ask you to chant out loud, although you'll be muted, so you won't be able to hear anybody chanting apart from myself. I'll ask you to chant out loud. I'm going to ask you not to worry about being in tune, or I think there's a tendency in the West to make chanting into singing, because we've got such a strong tradition of devotional singing, but chanting in a way is done much more with a natural voice. You just do it with your natural voice, and chanting in the East more tends to be done in a just natural open throat voice, it's sometimes called. And what we're going to be concentrating on, along with the sound, which obviously is important, but perhaps more so, we're going to concentrate on the internal vibratory effect that chanting has on our body. So chanting is a great way of sort of entering into the energetic body. Yeah, different chants, different mantras kind of seem to activate different centers in the body. You will have your own experience of this, and it might not be the same for everybody. For me, Amitabha is primarily about the heart center. And Amitabha is a very strong meditative figure, and also a very strong compassionate figure. Yeah, in the Pure Land, he's called upon, and it's quite interesting what happens in the Pure Land. I'm not going to go into it in great detail, and I'm sure some of you are quite aware of Pure Land Buddhism, but put very simply, in a way, what we're asked to do within Pure Land Buddhism is simply to recognize our conditioned nature on ever deepening levels. And from this perspective, there's no end to it, really, because our conditioned nature, in some sense, goes right back to the beginning of the universe. It goes right back to what we'd call a Big Bang, I suppose, in modern parlance. We are quite literally, in some way, the product of that event, yeah. And so from this perspective, there's no kind of sorting out. We can't sort of sort out our conditioning. But what we can do is kind of relax into it. And in the Pure Land way of thinking, this is all we're required to do. just recognize. I say all we're required to do because actually it's quite a difficult undertaking to really recognize our conditioned nature. To really do that, of course, is to dissolve in a way the separate ego consciousness into the cosmos way. And this is a very alchemical way of looking at things. Alchemy can be understood as part of a kind of hermeneutic tradition where the microcosm and the macrocosm interpenetrate. Yeah. So any changes that you make in yourself also have some kind of effect on the macrocosm. And of course, this isn't really any different from the idea of Indra's net that we find, this idea of interpenetration within Buddhism. It's expressed in slightly different terms, but it's basically the same sort of idea. The consequence of that is also that we arrive somewhere close to the Bodhisattva vow, this vow that the Bodhisattvas make to save all sentient beings, while also knowing that they're limitless. You know? So we accept the kind of paradoxical situation. You know? But although we might not be able to save all sentient beings, we can recognize that our actions, the way we are in the world, does affect, albeit perhaps in a very small degree, the rest of the world, as we are affected by the rest of the world. Yeah. In alchemy, in spiritual, what we could call spiritual alchemy, alchemy as a spiritual path, that is, the alchemist is trying to redeem the world in a way, you know, which is not so dissimilar, as I say, from the Bodhisattva's task or undertaking. But we become in service to the cosmos. I think this, though it might sound a little bit hyperbolic, I think actually this is quite an important understanding to have about our practice. As long as we're primarily practicing for ourselves, it's quite limited. You know, our practice remains quite limited because it's still, I talked a little bit this morning, didn't I, about imagining the body as a mandala. Well, as long as we're primarily practicing for ourselves, the center of that mandala is still our ego consciousness. Yeah. In the language I was using this morning, when we shift to meditating for the world, the central image of the mandala becomes the heart. Because the heart, in symbolic and imaginal way of looking at things, is our little fragment of the universe. So the heart is also both. This is what's so fascinating about the heart, which I'll talk about more another time, but just to say, both what's most personal in us, most individual in us, but at the same time, it's also what's most universal in us. It's what, it's through the heart, in this way of understanding that we are connected to the whole of being, if you like, all being, all existence. Anyway, that's enough of that, eh? So you get a bit of an idea. So, yeah, I'm just going to encourage you just to chant in a nice, relaxed way and feel into the physicality of producing that sound. I've been using the Amitabha mantra quite a lot recently, and it's also got this rather, for me, I mean, I can't, I don't want to preempt your experience, but for me, somehow the mantra's got a very nice quality that it feels like it rises up from the root through the heart center, then right up to the crown. So it's got this sort of that direction for it energetically. Anyway, you can see how what it's like for you. Yeah? So we're going to chant the Amitabha mantra a traditional number of times, which is 108. It's quite a short mantra, so it doesn't actually take that long. And then we'll just go into a meditation from the mantra. So think of the mantra as part of the meditation, as a sort of a way of relaxing, opening the body, and see if you can let the mantra kind of align the body in the way we were talking about yesterday, being aligned between earth and heaven, or earth and sky. Okay, well, much more could be said about all this, but I don't want to talk too much. I'm just thinking if there's anything else I want to say about the actual mantra. I just see how it goes. Try and keep the face relaxed and the shoulders relaxed, and just trying to allow your body to enjoy making the sound without being, you don't have to be, if you're alone anyway, you don't have to be self-conscious. Nobody can hear you. And just see what effect. It's a nice, comfortable mantra, the Amitabha mantra. It's easily done in one breath. It won't go too fast, so you can sort of relax a little bit between the mantras. Okay. So get yourself into your meditation posture if you're not already in it. Make sure you're comfortable as possible. We had a Rumi poem this morning, didn't we? Here's another Rumi poem, which I strongly associate actually with Amitabha. Obviously, that wasn't Rumi's association. So I'll have that first, and then when I'm ready, I'll start answering. You can just join in. When we've done 108, I'll ring my little bell here. And we can just sort of let it fade off. Okay, I hope that's clear. Maybe before we start, you might want to take a couple of kind of deeper breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just consciously relax the legs a little bit. Maybe just feel into the spine a little bit. Just settle into the posture. I have such a teacher. Last night, my teacher taught me the meaning of poverty, having nothing and wanting nothing. I am a naked man standing inside a mine of rubies, wrapped in red silk I absorb the shining. Then I see the ocean, billions of simultaneous motions moving within me. A circle of lovely, calm people becomes a ring on my finger. Then the sound of the thunder and wind of the coming rain. I have such a teacher. I'm a naked man standing inside a mine of rubies. I absorb the shining. Om Amideva Re. 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 Om Amideva 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 Om Amideva. 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 We're going to do something very, very simple. Just going to let our natural breath, as it does, kind of take us down to the whole heart, lung center in the body. The lungs are kind of draped either side of the heart. So if you follow your in-breath, you're taken to your heart. So I'm just going to sit with the breath as if we're aware of the breath from the heart center rather than an idea, just kind of gathering to the heart center, and on the out breath, releasing from the heart center. Face, let your face just relax a little bit if you can. Soften the face, soften the hand, release the leg, and just breathe, being aware of your heart. Have a bed in about 15 minutes. So just breathing. maybe just noticing what's happening, and if the energy's all gone up into the head, just very gently invite it down with the breath to the heart. If we keep the posture and just stop doing anything at all. You keep the posture, just let go. You're not trying to manipulate your experience in any way. Just what it is. Naturally arising. Maybe you get caught up in it, maybe you don't. See what happens when you stop trying to do anything. Last night, my teacher taught me the meaning of poverty, having nothing and wanting nothing. I am a naked man, standing inside a mine of rubies, wrapped in red silk. I absorb the shining. Then I see the ocean, billions of simultaneous motions moving within me. A circle of lovely, quiet people becomes a ring on my finger. And I hear the wind and thunder of the coming rain. I have such a teacher. We're going to have a little rest. So you're going to move to a laying down posture. As we did this morning, you weren't here this morning, I was encouraging you to lay in a fetal position unless that is for some reason uncomfortable for you, either physically or psychologically. And try and make this transition from sitting to laying as calmly as possible, so you're not disturbing yourself more than necessary. We won't be laying down for that long, 10 minutes. So you don't have to be kind of uber comfortable. Obviously, you have to be reasonably comfortable. And in this laying posture, which we can alternatively talk about this more another time, incubation or alchemical heart retreat, we could also call it Nigredo in a way. We're just trying to let go, just making that move from sitting quite nicely, just sort of curl up, particularly if it's the evening. I know it's not necessarily the evening for all of you. quite nice. Get your head quite near your heart. We're not trying to maintain any particular awareness at all now, once we're laying down. Just letting the earth support us. The sky gently press us down into the earth. The weight of the atmosphere pressing us down gently into the earth. If you go to sleep, that's fine. If you drift off, that's fine. Whatever happens is just what happens. Just let it be. A little bit of drumming just to interfere with your ego consciousness a bit. just laying still a little bit longer, and remembering yourself. Remember anything that might have happened while you've been laying there. And then when you feel ready, praying as calmly as possible without disturbing yourself more than necessary. Just come back to your sitting posture. Maybe being aware of your breath and the level of your heart as you make that transition. The heart begins as we take our seat. The position of the heart in relationship to the earth changes, isn't it? Along that central vertical axis of the body, the heart's roughly in the middle between the root and the crown. In this sense, we could say the heart represents the middle way. Energetically occupies the middle place, the central place, supported from below by the root, sex center, navel center, solar plexus. And above it has the throat, brow, and crown center. So we're just going to do a short period of just sitting. So in just sitting in this style, which is the style of the Soto Zen tradition, we're aware of our breath, but in just quite a relaxed, natural way. We're not trying to get concentrated. We're not using the breath instrumentally as an object. We're just aware of the natural breath, and we're aware of the posture. But beyond that, we have no intention. We're just using the breath and the posture to give stability. So we're not absent-minded, but we're not trying to achieve anything other than simply being aware of our experience as it naturally happens. So just sitting. relax your face a bit if you can. So soften. Before we end, let's just imagine from the heart all the other people sitting with us. Imagine that you're sitting in solidarity with them, both offering and receiving support, love. And imagine it from the heart, which naturally connects with other living beings. And just relaxing again, any effort. Again, just go back to just sitting. What's it like when you do nothing? What's left there when you're not engaged in your will? I'm going to suggest that after the bell, we just leave quietly unless Candida has something he needs to say. See if he says anything here after I ring the bell, and if he doesn't, we can just leave in our own time quietly. So anybody that's sitting on isn't disturbed too much.